Hi there and welcome back to a new video. So today I bring you the second part to one of my most popular videos so far, which is Krita versus Photoshop. And I haven't done this before and I planned to because I had some complications that I'm gonna be telling you about a little because they have something to do with the program and such. I'm doing this second part, but I must warn you, I haven't used it that much since then. In my last video I said that I was going to try and keep it up and have it in my computer to use it from time to time, but some things happened. I probably had my computer cleaned up and erased it, and then I didn't realize, and because it's not my default program I didn't kept it. And a few months back I tried to reinstall the program in my laptop, and I don't know if it was because of the laptop or because I had a change of tablets, but it didn't work. I'll tell you more because it might have to do something with the tablets, but I'll tell you more in a minute. In the meantime, you will be seeing me now trying Krita. I downloaded it a couple of days ago and I decided to do a figure drawing session to kind of warm up to the program, to the workspace again. I usually use references from figure drawing pages that let you have a session from photo references, and you just decide if you want nudes, if you want people dressed up, if you want just hand poses and stuff like that. I will leave the link down below. Mine right now, the one I use for default is usually reference.sketchdaily.net. Yeah, Sketchdaily is basically what it's called. I like that one, but there's plenty of others that I've used. I will tell you a few things that I found. So first I'm gonna kind of review what I did in my previous video because it was a bit chatty and a bit rambly, so I want to just kind of point it out. And then I'm gonna go to some of the things I did before starting working with Krita, and then I'm gonna give you a few other notes that I found out so far. But as I said, right now I am planning on keeping it in my computer and try to use it even if it's just for sketching from time to time. So if I found out a few more things, I'll do another video in the future. So first, a few notes about what I said in my previous video about Krita. So the amazing things about Krita so far is that one, it's free, and for being a free program it actually looks quite good and it has a good functioning. The performance of the program is pretty good for being free, and that's a huge pro because honestly having a free program like this working so well is quite rare, you know. I've seen other reviews by other people, so I think so far Krita is one of the best I have seen. Apart from that, as I said, it still has somehow a professional look. Some program interfaces like GIMP, and I don't recall anymore right now, seem to me that they have a bit of a childish interface that doesn't really motivate you to work. I mean, if the interface isn't slightly, I'm not saying that it needs to be really pretty, but I don't know, kind of professional at least, you know. Another thing that I loved the first time I used Krita was that it starts already with a white log layer as a background. I think you can choose the color presets, it doesn't need to be white, and then an extra layer to work on. So this means that you never work in the background, that it's a big problem for artists. That's a pro I loved about Krita. Of course you can change the layer and unlock it and stuff like that, but you know, it's just as a default. Then another default thing that comes with Krita is that it autosaves every certain minutes. You can set it up with your own preferences, actually quite good. You need to save it and it autosaves every few minutes so you don't have to remember to do it yourself. Another thing that I've realized is that it's quite compatible with Photoshop. I think you can open PSDs perfectly. I haven't tried it this time, but back then I did. If I remember correctly, you can also save PSDs. So it's easy for you to transition from one to another. For example, if you're very familiar with Krita and you're more comfortable sketching there and then you will rather paint on Photoshop, you could do that. Overall, in my first video, I thought that it was a really great free drawing program. I mean, it's quite pro to be free, and of course it's not professional, but it's really good. And I think that if you decide to use it and you like it, I think you probably should consider trying to. Now they offer the possibility to buy it on Steam and on the Windows Store. I think it's just about $10, and it serves for them to keep uploading and working. It's a really good thing to consider if you like the program, to support the creators, because it's still a very cheap contribution for something that is helping you work. What I did this time to readapt to the program, as I said, I've only used it for a couple of days, but you still have some sort of learning curve when you just install the program and you need to get used to it. So a few things that I did is I tried a couple of months back to install it, and I couldn't. I installed it, it worked perfectly on my laptop screen, but then when I tried moving it on to my RTX 12 Pro, it looked odd, and I tried changing out the preferences, but it crashed, if I remember correctly, and it also looked really big, like the things were very zoomed out, and when I tried changing the screen preferences, it didn't work. I don't think I could have made it better. I think it was a problem of the program either, or compatibility with the RTX 12 Pro. Maybe it could be my laptop because it's a bit old. I mean, it works pretty well, but it could be because of that. So I decided to try it in my desktop computer with my Wacom Cintiq 16. I have reviews of both of these tablets in this YouTube channel, so if you want to check them out, I'll leave them down below. But the first time I tried Krita, I was working with a Wacom Intuos with no screen, so I had no problem, and I think I worked on my laptop too, and I had no problem at all. And now with this RTX 12 Pro, I couldn't get it to work in my laptop. However, I had no trouble with the Wacom Cintiq 16. Just install it and it worked well. I just had to change a few preferences and stuff. So I think this could be a problem if you're not very tech savvy and it isn't very compatible with certain things. But as I said, I can't really give you this as a con or as a problem because it might have been because of my computer. But I thought I will mention it just in case. Then of course, as I install it and everything, I had to set up my workspace, a bit of how I liked it. It's not very complicated. I mean, it's easy to find the things if you know what you're looking for, and in my case, as I've worked with Photoshop before, I know I want my color selector up there, I want my layers, and I want a navigator. The brushes and the size opacity selectors are up there, which the first time was a bit weird, but right now I didn't even consider it so bad. I kind of got used to it, and I think can be kind of practical when you get used to it. However, I did set up a few shortcuts like I have in Photoshop, so I don't get confused. That just gives me a bit of extra comfort because I'm more used to it. For example, for the sizes, I just put the same shortcut. After all of that, I also wanted to do a bit of research before starting, because there's always certain things you might overlook when you're using it just like for a few days. So I did a little research that I'm going to include in my opinions here because I decided to test them myself, so I have a few more things to add to you. So let's go to my new final conclusions for this time I've used it, and as I said, this might change over time, but these are a bit of general conclusions, so I don't think they will change that much. So for brushes, at first brushes were slightly confusing to me. As I said, having the slider over the size up there and the opacity seemed odd, but I kind of got used to it and it's really practical actually right now. I've also considered that this could be a good thing if you're starting out, because it's kind of really easy and simple to see and get used to. Also, when editing the brushes, I think it's much easier than in Photoshop. I still haven't got the hang of it in Photoshop, and I've tried to understand how do you do it, but it seems much simpler in Krita and much simpler to save it and save your own brushes, configuration and stuff like that. And it's also very easy to set up a folder with your favorite brushes, and you can even have it on the side if your tablet is big enough. I just don't like to overcharge the side of my tablet because it's not that big, so that's pretty comfortable to me, and as I said, it's really easy to do, so that's cool. Also, for a starting pack, the brushes are very complete. There's a bit of everything. There's a bit of special effects. There's a couple of really good basic brushes like pencils, soft brushes and stuff like that. So I don't think, for example, with other programs you might get confused. You might need to download the brushes or change the default brushes or stuff. For this, actually, you can manage with what is there. And then again, Krita seems to have a lot of possibilities that I haven't explored yet. I think you can set up the workspace to work in comics, in comic stripes. You could also work in animation. There's a workspace for that. And I think there's more, but you know, there's so many possibilities that I haven't had time to explore. Besides, I don't really work with comics or animation, so I don't really explore those things usually, but I'm gonna take a look at that and see what else it offers, because it is pretty complete for a free program actually. There's a thing that I haven't completely gotten used to, and that's the color selector tab. I don't know, maybe I'm just too used to the Photoshop tab, but it still seems a bit odd to me. However, it is relatively easy to use, and again, I think that if you go on Krita as a first time user or a user from a free program, you will still get it. It's relatively easy. I want to include that I've realized that Krita has some lag for me. However, it doesn't really affect the movement you're making. I mean, the tablet and the software still captures the movement as it is. Unlike some other software that I see will cut out and do weird things when the program is lagging. So it has a bit of lag. It's nothing huge. It's more like when you're moving too fast that sometimes a lot of programs do. But in this case, even if it's lagging a bit, when you finish your movement, slowly but surely your stroke will appear as you did it, not weirdly. And if you use this and have seen it, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. If not, just has a bit of lag. You will see that sometimes the brush stroke is going slower than your hand, but it will be alright, so don't worry. Then again, some things still look a bit unintuitive to me at first. I mean, all of these things, most of these things will get solved if I used it for a bit, because all of the programs will have some sort of learning curve. But some things like the manipulation and transformation tools seem a bit frustrating right now for me. I still haven't got the hang of it, and layer modes too. And you know, I'm this kind of person that doesn't usually look for resources or tries to solve the doubts. I will be the person that is a bit stubborn and will try to figure out the things by myself. But however, Krita does have a good amount of resources out there, frequently asked questions and all. I've realized that the webpage has a section on tutorials that I think are pretty complete, and I've heard people talk about frequently asked questions that if you type on any doubt you might have, it's quite easy for you to find the answers. So don't panic if you're not very tech savvy or as stubborn as I am to figure out the things of my own, because you'll probably find help around. For Photoshop, there's usually a lot of help out there too, but it's because it's such a big program. But for a free program, it's not that easy to find that info, so I will consider it a big pro. And my final thoughts on Krita, I think this has gotten long enough already, is that it is a really good software and it can get you professional results if you're looking for them. So if you're starting out and you're looking to get better with this program, you will be able to. However, there's programs out there, free programs or very cheap programs, that will not give you these results, that will kind of get in the way of your learning because they're not responsive enough and they're not well enough made for you to be able to improve and get better. And one example of really professional results in Krita is Sarah Tepes. I've mentioned her also in my previous video. You can check out her work, I'll link her down below. But she has really beautiful professional illustrations. I think she still uses it, Krita, though sometimes I've seen her using Photoshop lately too. But you know, she still does really great paintings with Krita, and they're very pro, and she sells her work and she does commissions and all of that stuff. So you can do professional work with Krita. You can start working for hire with Krita, so I think that's good. And it will also serve as a good base for Photoshop, because if you want to get professional, at certain point you might have to start using pro tools like Photoshop, Illustrator and stuff like that. But I think for a free tool, this will give you really professional results and it will serve you really well for starting out. You will take some time to get used to it, as you will with any software really, but I think it will make your transition easier, because if you control Krita, then most software, like for painting and stuff, have similar things, so it will be easier to transition from one to the other. And that was all for today. I'm hoping this video gets a bit more to the point than the previous one. I think I have explored the things a bit more clearer in this one, but as I said, I really want to keep Krita around to just doodle and stuff like that. Maybe I'm not so used to Krita as to paint with it. I feel it's a bit confusing for painting for me right now, but for doodling, sketching and stuff, I will want to try it further, maybe even if I'm comfortable enough, try painting. So if in the future I think I have something else to add, I'll probably do another video, but so far I think this kind of covers most of the things that you will question to get Krita. So I'll see you in the next video. Give it a like if you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!